On December 15th, 2013, I had my first opportunity to make a trip outside Erbil together with a friend who had a car. We took the road leading south from Erbil to Kirkuk, past the imposing headquarters of the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, one of the two main Kurdish political parties founded in 1975 by Imam Jalal Talabani. Mr. Talabani is today the president of Iraq and the first person of Kurdish origin to hold that position. Our destination was a town lying halfway between Erbil and Kirkuk called Altun Kopri. The reason we were going there was that a business associate of my friend's had founded a private university there and was having today a big meeting with staff and students in order to celebrate the start of a new term and to decide which students would attend which courses. At this point in time, the university offers courses in law, in information technology, and in business finance. What struck me most on the road to Altun Kopri was how much our preconceptions about what Iraq should look like were being challenged. Instead of finding a vast expanse of desert, of sand, of dust, I was surrounded by lush green meadows and low-lying hills, reminding me much more of the landscape of Ireland and especially of Scotland than of the desert which characterizes the southern portion of Iraq. The roads to Altun Kopri were pretty good and the traffic was quite high. We saw especially large trucks and transporter vans that were taking instruments of agriculture, petrol, and other commodities to and from Kirkuk. As the landscape unfolded in front of us, we could see from time to time small settlements, and on the side of the road, people who would bring their wares to sell to the passers-by. In general, the look of the inhabitants was that of a rather poor area in which people were living still in relatively rudimentary conditions compared to what we are used in Canada. If one looked closer, however, one could see that all along the road new constructions were springing up. Whether we're talking about residential houses, about petrol stations, about new storage facilities, the sign of rebuilding, of reconstruction, of economic expansion can be seen everywhere by those who pay attention. And perhaps this is what characterizes today's Kurdistan the most. An incredible move towards constructing a homeland out of a region that had been devastated by civil war and by atrocities not so many years ago. As I'm driving to Altun Kopri with my friend, I am very excited to see what a private university looks like here in Kurdistan, what students look like, what their expectations are, and what the premises are going to be. Almost arrived in Altun Kopri, the houses began to change shape to look a little bit more finished, to look a bit more colorful, and it was clear that we were in the suburbs of a larger settlement. Finally, we turned on a side road and we continued straight ahead of us, leading to the new premises of the university. I understood that these premises were still being in the process of being built, and that I would find a lot of workers who would continue to construct the remaining parts of the building, all whilst the meetings with students and staff were going to take place. We're almost arriving now at the new university called Kitab University College. In Arabic, Kitab means the book. So we can see now to our left the two-story building in front of us, and the big sign that has the name of the university in it. As we stopped and got out of the car, we were surrounded by many cars belonging to the students and to the staff who were now meeting inside. It was very interesting to participate in some of these meetings, one especially in which the students, mostly male but also female, were trying to get acquainted. I was told by the president of the university, the friend of my friend, that it is very difficult to break the ice between individuals who are usually shy and not want to talk to each other. So in order to break the ice, one used to play a game of throwing different colored balls from one individual to another, and whoever received the ball had to introduce himself by stating his name and his area of studies. Looking closer at the images, one can see that the students are mostly young men to middle-aged men who are predominantly of Kurdish origin and whose main interest in furthering their careers is to obtain university degrees which would allow them to have higher salaries, mostly from governmental work, and work with private organizations that would automatically pay more for individuals with a higher qualification. As the meeting went on, students seemed to be very interested in a possibility of adopting some Western standards of education and of methods of teaching in connection with their studies. As I stepped outside the university grounds, I tried to have a look around at the landscape around me, which seemed again to foreshadow the foothills of the Zagros Mountains beyond the town of Altun Kopri. The building style of the university, as well as of the houses lying around, is very much a Middle Eastern style of buildings, low-lying with very bright colors and with large yards surrounding the building. As I said, the university was still being in the process of being constructed, and the whole area surrounding it was still being shaped. I found the rugged and in many ways very stark landscape really very beautiful and very peaceful, and I really couldn't fathom how this whole area, thousands of villages in Kurdistan, had been eradicated and people had been transformed in refugees or even killed by Saddam Hussein in the 1980s and the 1990s. As we left the university premises, what struck me most was that most of the buildings on the side of the road were in fact empty shells of concrete, which were really only half finished. In fact, it looked a bit like a war zone, because they simply looked like they had been bombed. But in fact, it was the exact opposite. It was a stage of reconstruction after devastation, in which people had begun to invest in new residences, new buildings, and were now probably waiting to accumulate some more money in order to finish the construction process. So as dusk began to fall, we took the road back from Altun Kopri to Erbil, and we still saw some people at the side of the road selling their wares and trying to make a living. Big trucks and big transporters were still lining up the road as we were driving north to Erbil. As we approached Erbil, we were stopped at the entrance of the city by a checkpoint guard, which wanted to ensure that we had the permit to actually enter the city. Fortunately, I had obtained my 1-year permit to stay and live and work in Kurdistan, and I had absolutely no problem in entering Erbil. It was an absolutely fascinating first trip outside Erbil, and I hope one of many to come.